Hello everyone, Richter here and welcome back to another Torchlight Infinte video. So, we had the season reveal a few days ago. I had some things to attend to, but here I'm bringing you my thoughts on the reveal and in general what the season is bringing to the game. The seasonal mechanic seems to be very similar to Dream, where we explored a mirror or Overrealm version of the map, which is in essence a copy of the current map layout, in which you can walk over items to spawn more monsters and loot. It is, all in all, a mapping league, like the previous one. Therefore, it will blend very well with previous mapping mechanics such as the high scars, Aeterna, clockwork and whatnot. Now, unlike the previous couple of mechanics, the exception being Outlaw, this one has a meta progression, again very similar to Dream. The great thing about these is that as you interact with the mechanic, you can probably customize how you interact with it. Now this has the potential of giving players many ways to generate loot using the mechanic, or it could end up being completely meaningless and only give the illusion of choice, because there will be a very obvious path to take for maximum profits. Only then time will tell. I think this mechanic will end up being as profitable as previous in-map mechanics, which you can gauge it by how good Outlaw was. Outlaw was, in my opinion, an outlier. It was very much better than the previous ones, but you can compare it similar to like Aeterna. Aeterna wasn't very profitable, at least in the early stages, outside of the people that had the high-level pets. I'm keen on finding out, however, how good it's going to be, but I will need to play with it. Now, the reveal of Bing 2 is the next character. I thought he was going to be a sentry character, but he ended up being a spellcaster focused on mechanics that interact with spellburst in many ways. He basically has two drones. One drone seems to be for like setup, whereas the other drone seems to like charge based on how many spells you cast, and after a certain point you can release a high amount of damage in a very short period of time, which is the definition of a burst of damage. So it's going to play around those mechanics. One thing that I could very quickly notice is that Bring 2 is possibly the character with the most amount of customization and possible builds that we've seen in this game thus far. Now this is a double-edged sword, because if you have too many possibilities, there will be very good options, but there will be also very bad options to play with. So I'm quite excited, because I really like to experiment with different setups for my characters, different ways to build them, and I think Bing is going to be the epitome of what you can do that in this game. So probably that's going to be my starter character. Now, keeping the theme of character customization, we have the Ethereal prism system. If you played PoE before, this is like timeless jewels. If you haven't, in essence, what you do is that you socket these items into your passive tree, and they allow you to modify or enhance in a way what the passives around that socketed jewel, let's say, do. And they can also modify like the main talents, giving very interesting choices for different characters. What seems to be left out of the reveal is, I don't know if the point where you're placing the jewel, you have to allocate it before, which means you have to spend the points to get there, and also if that point is lost when you allocate like the jewel into that slot. Prisms will be craftable, so this system has very high customization potential, similar to like the slates, the divinity slates, and some of the customization potential that I think was lost with the spoiler alert removal of the candle system. Now what is being said in the announcement is that you can only have one ethereal prism in your character, but there is a special kind of prisms called the mirror one, which judging by how the most powerful items in the mechanic have been made in the previous leagues, this item will not be seen by 99% of the population. Now they're also introducing combo skills. There are two ones called Crescent Slash and Serpent Beam. They themselves is something that I will have to experiment with. I cannot really make an assessment based on what I've seen in the reveal. All that I know is that there is one for attack skills and one for spell skills, and nothing for like projectiles, nothing for like minion skills. So right now it seems to be like a very, very early stage of a new mechanic that we will see. And Andre kind of confirms this at the end of this part of the reveal, where he says that it is very likely that the next character will be focused around the combo mechanic. So this is something we will get to play with a little bit this season, but I don't expect it to be very, very polished. What this seems to tell me is that the TLI devs, or the team in general, is not very happy with having the game be completely focused around activation mediums and to be a 1-2-0 button game, and they want to make the game a little bit more or certain character builds be a little bit more thematic and to blend different abilities together. In the end, there are many abilities, but most of them are not used, or most of them are automated, including the active abilities. So they seem to want to incentivize the player to move away from completely automated builds. Now, it remains to be seen if automated builds are going to disappear completely, or they are going to be left as an option that is going to be less powerful than combo builds, which I think is the preferable outcome, because for players that will be like or only play on mobile, I think having automatic builds is basically the only option to play the game, because you cannot really rely on pressing too many buttons while playing on mobile unless you have a gamepad or something. But giving you the option that to create extremely powerful characters by combining different things together while playing on the PC, I think it's a good choice. But we will have to see more of the system much later on, probably next season. This is part of the late game revamp. They are adding god mechanics, so they're making two main things here. For the early stage, we have a focus on the god gameplay, which is might, war, hunting, and machines, with an additional profound talent that will generate a chest based on how many of these you interacted with in your map. This seems like an interesting workaround for the early game, say time mark 5 or 6 to time mark 7, and before you enter time mark 8, which at the moment seems very bleak, because of everything basically devolves into boss rushing, and it makes it very, I don't know, it's very monotone, it's very boring in my opinion. There's nothing that you can customize too much while playing on time mark 7. So I think this offers an interesting solution to it. The only thing that I'm concerned with is that specifically God of Machines and God of Might are famously bad mechanics to interact with unless you're heavily investing on them. Let's say God of Might, I think it takes like a minute and a half, and God of Machines I think takes even longer. They are also very difficult, they are very punishing. So these have never been mechanics that you do with a bare bones character. You have to have a very well put together character to interact with both of them. So making these be like the focus for early game progression, unless they are nerfing them significantly in their difficulty level, I don't think this is gonna pan out too well. The other system that they're adding is the original scene cage, and there's Not much to be told about this one. It's like a huge monolith that spawns monsters. There will also be a talent tree dedicated to it, and I think there will be a couple of compasses for it as well. In general, I think the original scene cage is just going to be something that you're gonna be doing in like Profound or Deep Space. So again, something that like only a certain amount of the population are gonna have to worry about. That could be, but it might not come as a surprise to many players, is that the candles are gone now. They've already nerfed them quite hard last season, and I'm personally not going to miss them too much. In general, I only bought the best candle I could afford this moment and never really looked into getting the perfect one, because, well, it was insanely expensive to try to do so. The only issue is for Iris, or probably many other characters, there were like these very specific candles that gave a huge amount of power, and they weren't very sought after, so it made them very cheap for the amount of power that you were getting out of them. And I'm sure every build had something like this, especially every non-meta build. So this is something that is going to be lost, but it could probably be replaced by the Ethereal prism system. One great thing that I really have to applaud the game devs for doing, well, the whole team in general, is that they're allowing anyone that had heavily invested into the Aeterna pets to have the option to refund the pets in exchange for selection boxes. So if you feel like you don't want to deal with Aeterna at all now because you like farming candles and all that, if you feel like Aeterna is too weak, then you can, refund and, get out of there. Very, very good option. Now, other general game optimizations. The trade house will refresh more often, which means you will see less of the annoying item has been sold message on screen. Very good change. Corroded items with implicit will no longer be soulbound. To compensate for power, some of the most powerful corruption implicit outcomes has been removed. And the one thing that comes in mind with this is that the cursing hit on the helmet is probably gone. I need to check the patch notes, but I think that's the case. And one last one is that hardcore now opens 1 month after the league start. That's a choice, I guess. Besides all of these, I would like to mention that there are a few other changes that I think are important to mention, which is crafting costs are going to be diminished, which will be part of the whole plan to make the curve or the difficulty to get from Time Mark 7 to Time Mark 8. I think that's going to accomplish what it's intended to, and it's definitely a good change in my opinion. But I couldn't cover every single thing that is going to be changed. I just chose what I believe were like the key items. So if you want to see like everything that is going to be changed, make sure you check the reveal yourself to see other things as well. I think most of the things that were added or will be added this season seem very positive. There will be many new combinations of skills and setup tried, and I'm very excited to jump in. The season will be open on October the 10th. Now, unfortunately, and fortunately, I will be traveling during that time, which means I will miss pretty much the first 3 weeks of the season, which, depending on how you look at these games, is pretty much missing the season. The earliest I'll be back is November the 3rd. Now, I don't know if the hype is going to be good enough for me to warrant making videos at that time when I return. But either way, I will be playing the game on mobile. I will just not be able to make any videos on it at all. It's kind of a shame, but it is what it is. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, certainly. With that out of the way, let me know your thoughts on the season preview. If you saw the whole video on the TLI YouTube page, what did you like? What you didn't like? What do you think is going to be the best change. And I want to thank each and everyone that has watched up to this point. Thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I hope you have a very nice season of TLI. Bye-bye.